To do a video on Aleksandr Dugin, and the reason why is, of course, his daughter was recently killed in an explosion in Russia, and Aleksandr Dugin was the originator of the concept of a form of third positionism called National Bolshevism in Russia. And he was an anti-communist that embraced National Bolshevism, of course his own creation. Now his daughter Daria Dugin, who died on August 20th when the car she was traveling in exploded, was a political commentator for the international Eurasian movement, which is led by her father Aleksandr Dugin. Now what's interesting, and I'm going to read a little bit more before I go back and read about Aleksandr Dugin. I came to Nazbol, or National Bolshevism, because many prominent and not so prominent people in certain circles I was in were promoters of this ideology, and as I went away from straightforward National Socialism and toward what I considered less extremist views, which I would say they're not. They're actually in some ways more extremist. I started looking into him. Now, what's funny is a lot of the people that were very much against my concept of Pan-Americanism embraced Dugin's concept of Eurasianism, which is a similar concept. So the daughter of prominent Kremlin and this also surprised me. He seems to have been Kremlin connected. Okay, and why do I find that odd? Now this could just be me being on the outside looking in. I don't see Putin as embracing National Bolshevism. I see him embracing an oligarchical structure. I see him embracing a structure more similar to Kim Jong-un's North Korea than, say, the concepts expressed in National Bolshevism, which I'll explain later. That's why I find it difficult to understand how he's Kremlin connected, unless these are concessions that he made in order to promote his ideology. So his daughter was, it seems, killed, of course, when the car she was traveling in exploded in Moscow, in the Moscow region on August 20th. Russian investigators said an explosive device was likely planted in the car belonging to 30-year-old Daria Dugin. Russia's investigative committee said in a statement describing Dugina. When they put an A on the end, that's like, see, it's Dugin or Dugina, because the A it's a chick. Okay, a journalist and political analyst. According to investigators, on August 20th around 9 p.m. in Odensova urban district near the village of Bolshaya, whatever, an explosive device presumably installed in the Toyota Land Cruiser went off on a public road, and then the car caught fire. The female driver died at the scene, where they established the identity of the deceased as journalist and political analyst Daria Dugin. The department said in a message on its Telegram channel, video footage that accompanied the committee's statement showed investigators collecting debris from the site of the blast. Investigators said they had opened a murder case and would be carrying out forensic examinations to try to determine exactly what happened. According to family members and quoted by the Russian media, Dugin and his daughter had been attending a festival outside of Moscow, and he had decided to switch cars at the last minute. Denis Pushilin, a Moscow-backed separatist, leader in Ukraine's Donetsk region, also said Dugin was the intended target of the blast, which he blamed on Kiev. The Ukrainian regime terrorists tried to liquidate Aleksandr Dugin but blew up his daughter, Pushilin wrote on Telegram, without providing evidence to back his claim. Ukrainian President advisor Mikhailo denied that Kiev was behind Dugin's death. Ukraine, of course, has nothing to do with the explosion because we are not a criminal state like the Russian Federation, and certainly not a terrorist state. He said during an appearance on television on August 21st, according to the news outlet Ukrainska Pravda. Political analyst Abbas Galyamov, a former speechwriter for Russian President Vladimir Putin, called the attack an act of intimidation aimed at Kremlin loyalists. Investigators said they were considering all versions. Dugin is they call him far right. It's not far right. Okay, the Nazbol is not far right. I'll get into that. And I'm going to explain, and I'll explain as I read other stuff. Okay, Dugin is a Russian author and ideologue described as being the architect or spiritual guide of Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine. He has long called for the absorption of Ukraine into Russia, not just Ukraine, okay? Dugin is one of the main ideologues of Russia's neo-Eurasianist movement, which has been described by political scientists as fascist. It promotes an extreme right-wing view of Russia's place on the international stage that some have said resembles Nazism. It doesn't just resemble Nazism. Okay. Putin has sometimes echoed Dugin's expansionist language and views, and while the extent of his influence on the Kremlin is unclear, the ideologue is sometimes described as Putin's brain. Both father and daughter have loudly backed the war against Ukraine. Dugin was put on a Western sanctions list after Russia annexed Crimea in 2014, a move he also backed. Dugina was a political commentator for the International Eurasian Movement, which is led by her father. In March, the U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned Dugina for acting or purporting to act for or on the behalf of the United World International website, of which she was the chief editor. The Treasury said Dugina also contributed to the United World International website article suggesting that Ukraine would perish if it admitted to NATO, if it was admitted to NATO. So, who was Aleksandr Dugin? Okay, so he is a Russian political philosopher, analyst, and strategist known for his fascist views. Born Aleksandr Gelovich Dugin, the 7th of January, 1962. He is 60 years old. Education, Moscow Aviation Institute, no degree. Spouses, Evgenia, whatever. Children, 2, including Daria. Era, contemporary philosophy. Region, Russian philosophy. School, Neo-Eurasianism. Eurasia movement. National Bolshevism. Moscow State University, Sociological Geopolitics Philosophy. Notable ideas: Neo-Eurasianism, the Fourth Political Theory, Telugurocracy, and Thalassocracy. Born into a military intelligence family, Dugin was an anti-communist dissident during the 1980s. Following the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Dugin co-founded the National Bolshevist Party with Eduard Limonov, a party which espoused National Bolshevism, which he later left. In 1997, he published Foundations of Geopolitics, in which he outlined his worldview, calling for Russia to rebuild its influence through alliances and conquest, and to challenge the rival Atlanticist empire led by the United States. Dugin continued. Now, this is what I want to make sure people understand. My embrace of Pan-Americanism and my embrace of similar concepts for the Americas is based off of this. I see it as a necessary thing to create a regional power out of the United States, out of the United States and Latin America, and to encourage Oceania and Canada to leave the Commonwealth of Great Britain and join into a union, a new world union with the United States and Latin America. And that was my idea. So I call that Pan-Americanism, okay? Like Eurasianism, and I'm going to get into that later. I do not support competition with the United States, okay? What I support is a Pan-American answer to the problem of a rising power in Eurasia and the EU itself. I see as competition more so than an ally of the United States. So Dugin also served as advisor to State Duma Speaker Gennady Selenyov and a leading member of the ruling United Russia Party, Sergei Nara, whatever. He was the head of the Department of Sociology and International Relations at Moscow State University from 2009 to 2014, losing the position due to backlash over comments regarding clashes in Ukraine. Pro-Kremlin Orthodox channel Tsargrad TV, when it launched in 2015, Dugin's influence on the Russian government and on President Vladimir Putin is disputed. He has no official ties to the Kremlin, but is sometimes referred to as Putin's brain or Putin's Rasputin. Putin's Rasputin, I like that. By elements of the media and as being responsible for shaping Russian foreign policy. Others contend that Dugin's influence is limited and has been greatly exaggerated, and impression-giving correlations between his work and Russian foreign policy. Well, that sounds a lot like Rasputin, huh? So let's get into his career. I don't care about his early life. His career and early activism. In 1980, Dugin was a dissident and an anti-communist. Dugin worked as a journalist before becoming involved in politics. Just before the fall of communism in 1988, he and his friend Gaidar Dajwa joined the ultranationalist group Pamyat, which would later give rise to Russian fascism. He helped to write the political program for the newly formed Communist Party of the Russian Federation under the leadership of Gania Zhukov. Publishing career. Dugin published Foundations of Geopolitics in 1997. The book was published in multiple editions and used in university courses on geopolitics, reportedly including the Academy of the General Staff of the Russian military, and alarms political scientists in the U.S., sometimes referenced by them as Russia's manifest destiny. And that is my point. And what I see with Pan-Americanism is a united manifest destiny of uniting the New World, Oceania, and the Americas into a regional power and the New World, to show the New World the difference between the New World and the Old World, okay? Also in 1997, his article Fascism, Borderless and Red described national capitalism as preempting the development of a genuine, true, radically revolutionary, consistent fascism, or fascist fascism in Russia. He believed that it was by no means the racist, chauvinist aspects of National Socialism that determined the nature of its ideology. And I agree with that. Okay, the excesses of this ideology in Germany are a matter exclusively of the Germans, while Russian fascism is a combination of natural national conservatism with a passionate desire for true changes. The Waffen-SS or Waffen-SS, and especially the scientific sector of this organization, the Ahnenerbe, was an intellectual oasis in the framework of the National Socialist regime, according to him. I think I'll get into that later. Dugin soon began publishing his own journal entitled Elementi, which initially began by praising Franco, Belgian, Juan François, whatever, belatedly a supporter of a Euro-Soviet empire, which would stretch from Dublin to whatever, and would also need to expand to the south since it requires a port on the Indian Ocean, consistently glorifying both Tsarist and Stalinist Russia. Elementi also indicated his admiration for Julius Evola. Dugin also collaborated with the weekly journal Den, previously directed by Aleksandr Prokhnovov. Dugin disapproves of liberalism and the West, particularly U.S. hegemony. He asserts we are on the side of Stalin and the Soviet Union. He describes himself as a conservative. We conservatives want a strong, solid state. I agree with him with all of this, but for the United States and the Americas. We conservatives want a strong, solid state, want order and healthy family, positive values, the reinforcing of the importance of religion. I don't really think religion is all that important, but that's because I'm an American and I believe in the secularism of the republic. He adds, we want patriotic radio, TV, patriotic experts, patriotic clubs. We want the media that expresses national interests, according to political scientist Marlene Laurel. The thinking of Dugin, main manufacturer of fascism a la Russe, could be described as a series of concentric circles with far-right ideologies underpinned by different political and philosophical traditions. The thing is with fascism is not extreme right, it's not extreme right, or it's not extreme right, it's not extreme left, okay? It is extreme centrism, okay? Esoteric National Socialism. So my thing with this esoteric National Socialism, and I'm going to get into this, this is why I went back and realized that the right kind of third positionism for the United States of America is not third positionism, it's progressivism. And the reason why is when you start pushing this ridiculous horseshit like esoteric National Socialism and all this like wacky bullshit, it attracts lunatics, extremists, and people that really affect your ability to have a political movement. And I think it's far better for true progressives, true Roosevelt-style progressives that promote Americanism, to basically register as Democrats and Republicans and work to bring the Republican and Democratic Party back to a progressive mindset. Now, Dugin adapts Martin Heidegger's thought of Dasein existence and transforms it into a geophilosophical concept. According to Dugin, the forces of liberal and capitalist Western civilization represent what the ancient Greeks called hubris. And I do think that that's true for capitalism. I do not consider Western civilization capitalist, or if it is, it has been a very short instance in the history both of the United States and of the West that it has been capitalist. Okay, it's very, see, that's the thing, is if you read the Constitution of the USA, we are not a capitalist country. We've only really been a capitalist country for maybe the past 100 years or so. And even then, it's not capitalist. If it was capitalist, you wouldn't have so many regulations and things of that nature. The essential form of Titanism, the anti-ideal form, which opposes heaven, the ideal form, in terms of space-time being. In other words, the West would summarize the revolt of the earth against heaven. See, this is the kind of nonsense, the kind of bullshit that I don't agree with. I think it's comically stupid. To what he calls the West's atomizing universalism, Dugin contrasts the aphoric aphatic universalism expressed in the political idea of empire. Values of democracy, human rights, and individualism are considered by him not to be universal but uniquely Western. I agree with that. I do agree that human rights, individualism, and individualism are are Western. They're Western in character, and these are values that as Westerners we need to embrace. The concept of individualism is the basis of collectivism. For without the individual, without the value of the individual, you cannot have the collective. And without the value of the collective, the individual suffers. That's what I believe anyway. So Eurasianism and views on geopolitics. Dugin has theorized the foundation of a Euro-Asian empire capable of fighting the US-led Western world. In this regard, he was the organizer and the first leader of the ultra-nationalist National Bolshevik Party from 1993 to 1998, along with Edward Limonov, and subsequently of the National Bolshevik Front and of the Eurasia Party, which then became a non-governmental association. Dugin's Eurasiatic ideology therefore aims at the unification of all Russian-speaking people into a single country. He views have been characterized as fascist by some critics. I would say it is fascist. I think that he says it's fascist if we remember from a little bit back. This Anna Nurbe shit, one of the founders of the resultant book, Hyperborean Theory, all this mythological horse shit, I say throw it out the goddamn window. Dugin also promoted the legend that Wirth had written an important book on the history of the Jewish people and the Old Testament, the so-called Palestinian book, which could have changed the world had it not been stolen. Dugin's ideas, particularly those on a Turkic-Slavic alliance in the Eurasian sphere, have begun to receive attention among certain nationalist circles in Turkey, most notably among alleged members of the Erdogan network, meaning the guy that's in charge of that. So, in principle, Eurasia and our space, blah, blah, blah. So, I'm going to skip ahead here. So, what is the National Bolshevik Party? The National Bolshevik Party, also known as Nazbols, operated from 1993 to 2007 as a Russian political party with a political program of National Bolshevism. The NBP became a prominent member of the Other Russia coalition of opposition parties. Russian courts banned the organization, and it never officially registered as a political party. In 2010, the leader, Edward Limonov, founded a new political party called the Other Russia. There have been smaller NBP groups in other countries. So, the leader was Edward Limonov, founders Edward Limonov, Aleksandr Dugin, Yegor Letmov, Sergei Kyrokoshin, whatever. Founded on the 1st of May, 1993, 29 years ago. Legalized 16th of August, 2005, 17 years ago. Banned 17th of 2007, 15 years ago. Succeeded by the Other Russia Party. Headquarters, Bunker NBP, Street Maria Yulianov, 17 building, Moscow, Russia. Newspaper, Limonka, colors, red, white, and black. Slogan, Russia is everything, the rest is nothing. Yes, death is the greeting. Anthem of the National Bolshevik Party by Dmitry whatever, that's the flag of National Bolshevism. Its official publication, the newspaper Limonka, derived its name from the party's leader. Okay, ideology. The NBP believes in the National Bolshevik ideas that arose during the Russian Civil War, such as from Professor Nikolai, who came to believe that Bolshevism could be modified to serve nationalistic purposes, and it was, under Stalin, it was modified to serve nationalistic purposes. His followers, NBP defended Stalin. Okay, they defended Stalinism, although later on the party said it did not wish to recreate that system. Of course not, because you don't live in that time. You can't recreate Stalinism for the 21st century. It wouldn't make sense. The party is described as a mixture of far-left and far-right ideology, including among its members Sovietism, nostalgics, as well as skinheads with the hammer and sickle, which replaced the swastika in a white circle on a red background as the party's flag. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead a bit. So what is National Bolshevism? Notable historical proponents of National Bolshevism in Germany included Ernst histories. Okay, so I'm going to skip ahead. People can follow these links if they want. I want to get to why I believe it's important for a Pan-American and oceanic something to rival other than NATO, because NATO is unfortunately at risk of becoming part of this due to their dependence on Russian fuel. Okay? So people might know that I embrace Pan-Americanism. What is Pan-Americanism? Okay, Pan-Americanism is a movement that seeks to create, encourage, and organize relationships, associations, and cooperation among the states of the Americas through diplomatic, political, economic, and social means. History. Following the independence of the United States of America and the independence of Haiti, I don't think the Caribbean is American, but I'll get into that later. In 1804, the struggle for independence from after 1810 by nations of Hispanic America evoked a sense of unity, especially in South America, where under Simon Bolivar, then North, and Jose de San Martin, in the South, there were cooperative efforts. Francisco Morazan briefly headed a federal republic of Central America. Early South American Pan-Americanists were also inspired by the American Revolutionary War, meaning our Revolutionary War. Okay? If America did not squander the opportunity, we could have united the Americas, in which a suppressed and colonized society struggled, united, and gained independence in the United States. Henry Clay and Thomas Jefferson set forth principles of Pan-Americanism in the early 19th century, and soon the United States declared through the Monroe Doctrine a new policy with regard to the interference by Europe in the affairs of the Americas. In the 19th century, South American military nationalism came to the fore. Venezuela and Ecuador withdrew in 1830 from Gran Colombia, meaning Great America. The Central American Federation collapsed in 1838. Argentina and Brazil fought continually over Uruguay. All three combined in the Paraguayan War to defeat Paraguay, and Chile defeated Peru and Bolivia in the War of Pacific. However, during that period, Pan-Americanism still existed. Okay, and it's important that it still existed, okay? So during this time, Pan-Americanism existed in the form of a series of inter-American conferences, Panama, Lima, Santiago. These are where the conferences took place. The 20th century U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, a progressive, embraced a robust formulation of Pan-Americanism during World War II. Again, he saw what I'm seeing. We need this now. Through the establishment of the Office of the Coordinator of Inter-American Affairs in accordance with his good neighbor policy. Okay, meaning we need to be good neighbors to our neighbors. Screw Europe. I've been saying that forever. Roosevelt endeavored to foster the development of peaceful commercial and cultural relations between the American republics through the skillful use of cultural diplomacy. Evolution. The intended liberalization of commercial intercourse did not occur, but collaboration was extended to a series of areas such as health, Pan-American Health Organization, geography, and history. The Pan-American Institute of Geography and History, Child Protection and Children's Rights, International American Institute for the Protection of Children, Rights of Women, International Commission on Women, Indigenous Policies, Inter-American Indigenous Institute, Agriculture, Inter-American Institute of Agricultural Sciences, Collective Continental Defense, Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Attendance, Economic Aid, Inter-American Development Bank, Human Rights, Inter-American Court of Human Rights, infrastructure works, Pan-American Highway and Peacekeeping, Inter-American Peace Force. Okay, these are all things that, we need to nurture and grow. The American states also adopted a series of diplomatic and political rules which were not always respected or fulfilled, governing relations between the countries, like arbitration of disputes, peaceful resolutions of conflicts, military non-intervention, equality among the member states of each organism and their mutual relations, decisions by means of resolutions approved by the majority, and the recognition of diplomatic asylum, congresses and conferences. Okay, this is the different congresses. Okay. And I'm going to move on quickly. So this is about the Office of the Coordinator of Inter-American Affairs, which was started under Roosevelt. The Office of Coordinator of Inter-American Affairs, later known as the Office of Inter-American Affairs, was a United States agency promoting inter-American cooperation or Pan-Americanism during the 1940s, especially in commercial and economic areas. It was started in August 1940. Now, this is what's so sad. Because we squandered these opportunities, we have lost allies. Communism has crept. And when I say communism, I don't mean economic communism. I mean ideological communism. Has crept into, it has crept into Latin America. It has destroyed greatly any chance we have of rescuing certain populations like the Cubans and the Venezuelans. And it has completely destroyed large swaths of the Americas. Venezuelans have had to be given refuge due to the collapse of their country. So the Office of Coordinator of Inter-American Affairs in the Executive Office of the President was formally established and enacted by U.S. Executive Order. Okay, President Roosevelt, who named it. Okay. Soviet penetration. The Office of Coordinator of American Affairs was penetrated by Soviet intelligence during World War II. The agency's code name, you see, this is the thing. It was penetrated by Soviet intelligence. Why did we ally ourselves with them? The agency's code name in Soviet intelligence and in the Venona project is Cabaret. These American citizens were employees and engaged in espionage on behalf of the Soviet Union. These are their names: Marion Davis Burdico, Jack Fahey, Joseph Gregg, Helen Grace Scott Keenan, Robert Talbot Miller, Willard Park. These are all traitors to our republic and traitors to the Americas. They were selling the Americas out to the Soviet Union. Okay, keep that in mind. I think this is something that really needs to be fostered much better, but this is the Inter-American Peace Force, was a peacekeeping force in the Dominican Republic from several countries from the Americas that was formed towards the end of the Dominican Civil War. It was established by an organization of American states, the OAS, on 23rd of May 1965, following the United States' initial intervention in the war. Brazil later assumed command from the United States in 1966, and in 1967 was ultimately disbanded. Background: the United States deployed armed forces to the Dominican Republic on the 28th of April in 1965 following the outbreak of a civil war. The OAS demanded a ceasefire on 29th of April in 1965 after being convened by the request. So the Organization of American States, which is a Pan-American organization, demanded a ceasefire, and it was convened by the request of the United States. Creation on May 1st, 1965, the OAS responded. So when people are saying, a lot of these commies, a lot of these people go, well, the United States has influence over other nations in Latin America. Yeah, because we need to, because we are the most powerful force in the Americas, and it's our responsibility to nurture and help our American neighbors. Okay, on the 1st of May 1965, the OAS responded to rapid deterioration of stability during the Dominican Civil War, putting forth a proposal to create, and another thing I want to point out, people that go, well, you're just trying to spread soft power, and who would you rather control the Americas? An agreement through the OAS where America, as the most powerful nation, holds the lion's share of decision-making ability, which is not how the OAS is anyway, but even if it were, or would you rather backwards countries with no respect for human life and no respect for human values, like the Russians and like the Chinese, control American countries, as we're seeing in the American countries and in Latin America that have gone completely backward, like Venezuela and Cuba? Where would you rather see this take place? You know what I'm saying? So according to the 6th of May 1965 resolution of the Organization of American States, okay, so the idea was to cooperate in the restoration of peace in the Dominican Republic, maintain the security of its inhabitants, and the inviolability of human rights. 3, establish an atmosphere of peace and conciliation, which would permit the functioning of democratic institutions. Act of establishing the Inter-American Force is hereby established as a force of organization of American states. The Inter-American Force shall consist of the United Command and the national contingents of member states. The Unified Command should consist of the commander of the Inter-American Force, the deputy commander. Okay, so we know what this is. So who are the member states? United States, Brazil, Honduras, Paraguay, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and El Salvador. Actions. Upon arriving in Dominican Republic, the troops were immediately tasked with securing the National Palace that had been plagued by shootings. The next task was securing key infrastructure, including, the U.S. It's not just the U.S. that holds influence. It's the United States, Brazil, Honduras, Paraguay, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador. The idea is to give all of the American states better control over the Americas. Okay, so this is about the Pan-American Health Organization, an international public health agency working to improve the health and living standards of the people of the Americas. It is part of the United Nations system. So Pan-American Health Organization, that's what it looks like, abbreviation. Okay, description. Has scientific and technical expertise at its headquarters. See, this is the thing. We as New Worlders need to work together for the unification of the New World against the backwards powers of the Old World, the gross liberalism of Western Europe, and the backwards thinking of former Soviet countries. Okay? That's what you need to understand. That's what you have a choice from. That's why the New World, if you look at the United States was founded the way it was founded because we didn't want the gross liberalism of Western Europe. And if you look in Latin America, those nations were formed because they didn't want the tyranny of the Spanish Empire. And that's all for this video. But I do think that it's obvious that we need a Pan-American answer to the EU and to the former Soviet bloc countries, the Russian Federation, and Eurasianism.